All right, all right. For anybody having the misfortune of watching, I don't know if anybody's out there yet. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. This is my first time semi-streaming. But I think I got the comments up there. So if you're out there, like, you know, feel free to jump in the comments because again, I don't really know what I'm doing. We're waiting for some other people who may or may not show up would be awesome. Do do do. Trevor, you're here. Trevor, how's it ending up on uh oh, look at all y'all. This is great. How's it everything does everything feel like it's flowing or um that, is like audio good, video good, all that kind of stuff? I click on that. That's how it does it. Hey, Trevor, you're the man. Dan, you're also the man. It's we are Synergos or Synagoros, I guess. Jack, what's up? Uh That's good, Tim. Tim, I appreciate it. I just saw that you subbed to my channel. I feel like just knowing the sort of the back and forth or what I saw from you, um, I feel like we probably have a pretty similar taste. I wanted to recognize that what I said was literally exactly what you said when we were talking about Rush, and so I just wanted to give you a shout. I appreciate that. Thanks, Jack. Jack, you got your license yet? You do have your license, but you're not drinking hoopty yet because you cannot. No, Carly, this is not the program for the Dollar Tree Divas. Sorry about it. It's a bummer. Uh, you know. Well, I mean, I guess, how do you do one of these things, right? Like do you like pose a question? I'm like sitting up here like kind of trying to figure out until the people come and do the thing. I appreciate a lot of you all out there, watch and support and you're always in the comments and stuff like that. Like, but you might not have channels or something. Like, what are you all sort of listening to these days? What's been spending a lot of time in your stereo or on your turntable or anything like that? Um, you're good, Tim. I appreciate you, brother. Um, this is good. Cheers to my family, my great brother and sister, who are so supportive in everything, and also love to troll. Trevor, that is so. I'm gonna hold on, bring this up. For those probably who do know, when Trevor says dust collector, he's referring to Hackney Diamonds from Rolling Stones because Glenn Kellaway says that it's a dust collector. Um, which obviously it's like people like what they like or don't like what they don't like. It is funny to me like the just the very like I won't even listen to it. I'm not interested in it at all. Sort of vibe because Trevor, like you, I'm loving it, man. I love it, and I say that as like a pretty like I am a Rolling Stones fan. I wouldn't say I love them. They're not like a top 5 favorite band for me. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. Uh, uh, Jack, I'm curious there. I mean, talk about a band that has some eras, right? I mean, going from like what Pablo Honey, like very guitar-y, sort of noisy, into obviously what they were doing with the Bends and OK Computer, and then really kind of just becoming like an electronic band, right? I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on just listening to their whole discography. Uh, Dan, yeah, I'm curious, Dan, what you getting into, man? I think for me and everybody's different. My gateway into jazz was I was a huge progressive rock fan, huge prog nerd, and I, it was easier for me to get into the kind of progressive fusiony stuff, right? So it was like I was listening to more Soft Machine, or I was listening to more UK, or those types of bands, and then it was a much easier sort of way to find myself gravitating towards more jazz because it was like, oh, I loved Return to Forever, I love Alan Holdsworth, I love all those bands or all those artists, so it was kind of easy to make that change. Marsha, you're the best. Appreciate you always being in the comments. Yeah. Where's Jason? Where are you? I thought y'all were supposed to be up here. Shouldn't I get like a notification that you're here or something? I don't know. I thought you were joining me. Don't leave me out here to dry. This is the whole point of it. You know, the sad part is, Anthony, thanks for being here. I don't even have a beer. Beer and Vinyl doesn't even have a beer right now. This is what we've been dealt. Yes, that's a great song. I think. Is it Sam who really likes that song? Sorry to call you out, Sam. Was Depending on You the one you really liked? I know you mentioned one in your video. I love that track though, Tim. Anthony Gambler's the man. Let's see. Where are we at here? Western Canada. Dan, I love you because you just asked some questions that are like, that's a deep question. I'm going to think about that. And then you ask some questions. I'm like, I don't know. There are some radio jingles that I still sing. Anybody in the Cleveland area, which I don't think was anybody except probably my brother and my sister, but they might not remember this. But I guess it might not have just been a Cleveland thing. You remember, was it Ruggles ice cream? Scoop, scoop, yum, yum. Ruggles ice cream, supreme, yum, scoop, scoop, yum, yum. Ruggles gotta get me some more. All right. I know you loved that one, Sam. Yeah, I mean, Herbie's the best, man. And again, there are so many different ways you can go with Herbie, from kind of classic post-bop stuff to obviously his funky fusion stuff. I mean, and everywhere in between. So, yeah. We go. I'm doing my best.
All right. How you doing, man?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I'm in the world that you and Glenn have to do all the time. This is a lot. I'm waking at work though.
It's a lot to often manage the comments, right?
It is.
Especially, you know, and I have a slightly different take than Glenn. I don't necessarily show every comment, because then it's hi. People can read that, right? So you're trying to keep the conversation going, talk to the people that are on the screen, but filter through the comments to the ones that, you know, it's a lot of work.
That's a great point, right? Because then what we also see, because it's Glenn too, is he'll be like, "Right, who is he talking to?"
Right.
You know, and you're like, "No, you got to follow the conversation." Jack was talking about Radiohead and going through their whole discography. Yeah, I mean, you're again, like they're just kind of all over the place. I mean, you know, Kid A and Amnesiac people like a lot too, but yeah, I wish I was grabbing a beer.
I never did the Radiohead thing. I mean, like that's prime, like 90s, right? That was prime demographic back then. I just found them too boring.
Totally. I mean, I like Radiohead, but I could also see how somebody would call them boring. Same thing. I mean, I really like Wilco, and I can understand how somebody could call them boring.
Absolutely. Right? I love Wilco for about 3 or 4 albums, and then
well, you know, it's still a lot, right?
Right.
Oh, that's a good call out there, Glenn, with Bloodwind Pig. Everyone, I got to pick up that. I think that's like those first two. Yeah, Sam loves that. Depending on You. What do we got here? Alex, the live stream is well. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you, and thanks for joining sort of the post. Anthony, I will say too. I mean, this was really influenced by you. I mean, you sort of kicked off the live stream on Monday. Jason's eating. Great, thank you, Sam. Zach, I'm gonna need you to give me a little bit more here. What's going on? Oh, that's the Ruggles Ice Cream Supremium. Yes,
I got something for Zach.
Hey, I was on the drink you.
I tell you, man, one of these days when I get a few minutes, I'm going to edit that part of a live stream and make it a short.
God, talk about. I mean, that's not what's. I mean, okay, let's put.
And for the record, for everyone that's watching, if they had seen the live stream when we talked about that record, the only reason I own it involves the strip club. So it's not like I'm not a Kid Rock fan. Let's just be clear on this.
Well, and yes,
I think
we can
he's the ass hat of all ass hats.
Yes, and you know, gosh, talk about a topic that I wouldn't want to like, or maybe I would want to talk about on a live stream, right? Of the the separating the artist from the artist, all that type of stuff, right? Because
Yeah.
we see that a lot, especially with people like Kid Rock or like Ted Nugent or I remember watching, we talk about Dylan down at Noble Records a lot. And I remember he brought this up and I was like, damn it, Dylan, that's a good point. And I don't like how I'm agreeing with that point. And he's like, we love Phil Spector.
Like, but he murdered somebody.
And they're like, was it Sid Vicious? Like whoever like murdered their from the Sex Pistols, whole ass murdered somebody. And we're like, yeah, but they're a great band. And we would never like carry that same sort of like
in real life.
I'm like, damn, I don't like that, but I totally agree with it. He's right.
Yeah.
All right. Jason's coming, maybe. Jingles are fun. 996. Ooh, here we go. Dan's in the house here.
I mean, Dan, if you want, Alex and I can talk Taylor Swift all night.
Could you imagine? You imagine?
So I showed you, I think I emailed you. I pulled the trigger on that Beautiful Lies bootleg.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
It is crossing the border probably in the next day or so. So it should be here by early next week. Very excited.
I love that. My brother and sister in the comments because they're great and supportive, but my sister especially is a huge Taylor Swift fan. I feel like, Carly and I, my sister, we talk pretty much every day, and I feel like probably a good 30 to 40% of our conversations are about Taylor Swift. So it's like
I fit right into that conversation.
So explain for the viewers out there who are interested. So for the viewer, Carl, explain again what that bootleg is that you kind of picked up.
Back in the early days, I think it was between the self-titled album and the Fearless album, her first and second album. She did an EP called Beautiful Eyes, and I think it was a Walmart exclusive. It had an orange cover on it. I'll pull up the picture as I'm talking about it. It was only released on CD, and it had some, I don't know if they were B-sides or whatever, and there were a couple live tracks, and put out on Big Machine Records. I think it was exclusive to Walmart or something. And someone in France has made a bootleg of it on vinyl, so it's totally not legit.
Sure.
I'm just pulling up the listing here, but someone has produced it on vinyl.
Look how beautiful that wax is, though. I mean,
and the vinyl is random colors, so it could be green, could be orange. I've seen a couple people get like a pink swirl one, so I pulled the trigger on it. I've heard good reviews about it and bad reviews about it, but because I'm a diehard Swiftie, I took a plunge on it. So the next one I have to get is that same bootleg vendor in France has also taken Midnight's, the 3 a.m. edition, and put it on 3LP vinyl. So it has all those 3 a.m. tracks.
Dang. Okay.
So I'm going to probably pull the trigger on that one too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, I'd kind of agree with that. Yeah, Dan, I mean, Sextant, I actually just got Sextant because that was part of last, I guess, month's Vinyl Me Please, I think, Essentials. I love that record. I love that period. But like that Wandishi, Sextant, like that is some out there stuff. Again, it's very similar. Like if you're going to start somebody on Herbie Hancock, I don't know that I would start him there. Like that's not exactly the most accessible stuff, but I love that stuff. Where are you going, Sam? He's not coming. He's not going here, apparently.
No. I think he's off to drink us away.
Right. Somebody's got to. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, just kind of jumping over a whole bunch of stuff. So here's the thing, and I'm gonna use this time to wax poetic a bit here because
lay it on me.
So this is where I struggle. I guess I do struggle with this, right? So Taylor Swift, we love her, right?
We do.
And let's take I could not care less. In fact, I'm over the whole, like, I don't care who she's dating, I do not care. I do not care. And I get frustrated when so many people care so much about that. Right. But I view her as
upset she doesn't want to date me, but well, whatever.
Sure, but like, I view her as a pop artist and singer-songwriter, right? And so I think that there's a lot of people, especially probably people in our community, who are like, ooh, like same thing that they would feel about like Olivia Rodrigo or any other pop artist, right? But here's the thing, Rob, who's the greatest band of all time?
The Beatles.
The Beatles. And I it's so interesting to me of like, if you were to do a side-by-side of like Beatlemania and like all the videos of like the screaming, you know, the screaming and people pissing and shitting themselves.
And you could easily argue that they were 100 times more commercial than she was or is.
You could argue that. And I think a lot of people would say, yeah, but like the Beatles were brilliant. The Beatles were XYZ.
And they were, and she hasn't got to that brilliant part and probably never will.
But you know what, though? For 95% of the Beatles fans, which is the same for 95% of her fans, they don't care about that. She's brilliant because she's an amazing pop artist and singer-songwriter. Like, it's interesting that we look at like the Beatles, who are the biggest pop band of all time, and rock band, right? And we think that their fandom and their fame is due to their musical abilities and all those things, which, yes, it was a lot the same way it's due to her musical abilities. But it's weird that the scale has shifted so much where it's like, oh, no, because it's like, yeah, they were more popular than Jesus. And that's not because they used cool recording techniques in the studio.
Right. And let me take it one step further. You obviously, everyone knows Beatles are my favorite band, and they can do no wrong in my eyes ever. But people go, oh, they're a rock band, and you know Taylor Swift is this silly pop shit. All I need to say to that is, Love Me Do versus something like Antihero.
Yes, come on, Rob. Yes.
Right? And I'm gonna make two more Taylor Swift points. She entered the music business at 16 years old is when she started recording her self-titled debut. She has been famous longer than she's not been famous. And by all accounts, she still has her proverbial shit together. She's not like a fucking crazy lunatic like most people that get fame. And arguably, she is probably the most famous person in the world.
Right, sure.
Right? Yeah. And add to that the number of albums she's put out. Mm-hmm. She has taken back her catalog. She has, I would say, made more changes to the business of music than anyone else in several decades. So say what you want about her music. She's a fucking billionaire for a reason. And hats off to her.
Yeah. And I, yes, hold that thought. Tim, totally agree. Headhunters is the way to go. Wax poetic, a great pun, totally intended. Rob, did you like Lady Antebellum?
Never heard them.
They were like they changed.
I know who they are, but now they're called.
And
Lady
they changed their name too. I mean, it was Lady one of those like Antebellum refers to like plantations during like slavery.
They're called Lady A now. I've not a
Lady A.
My wife would like them, but I haven't listened to them.
Yeah, they're kind of like just country pop rock sort of thing.
Yeah.
Marsha, you make a great point. And by no means are we comparing Taylor Swift to the Beatles from the standpoint of, well, I mean, I think
what we're talking about is cultural impact and impact on the business, not necessarily the quality of music.
Right. And I think like the idea that I keep going back to is like, there's a certain amount of people who are into like classic rock or, hard rock and prog, like all, stuff like me, right? Where it's like, right. When we listen to music, we listen to things like, how good is that guitar solo? How good is that drum? How good is this, and this, and this? And so it's tough for people like me to listen to pop music where it's like, wow, what a cool drum machine. Wow, what a cool computer generated effect.
And I agree 1,000%. I have 15 guitars hanging on the wall of this room. That tells you I play guitar. I'm not a great guitar player, but I love guitars. And it bugs me when there isn't a band. I don't want to hear a drum machine. I don't hear the laptop. And yes, there's a lot of that studio stuff in Taylor's current music. But I have to take off that hat and put on the hat that's just another way to create music. And I appreciate it for what it is, but it's not rock music, and that's fine.
Yeah. Trevor, you're the best, man.
Thanks, man.
We appreciate you. Yeah. And it's not to say that, I don't like, But but my point is like from people who like that type of music, it's like the people who grew up going to listening to Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin, it's tough for them to like. It's probably tough for them to like Taylor Swift the same way it was tough for them to like Madonna.
Of course,
it's what I mean. And I don't mean to make it like a sexist female thing. It's probably the same way that it was tough for them to like, even like get away from pop stuff. Even like singer songwriters, it's tough for them to sometimes like Billy Joel.
Sure.
It's it's like,
well, how much do we all ridicule John Music Talk with John for being a Billy Joel fan?
Well, you do. I mean, it's like
I don't.
But yeah, I mean, well, we've heard like other people say too that like people will be like, "Oh, Billy Joel's just like a poor man's Elton John,"
Well, and here's another thing. In fact, my wife and I were talking about this tonight. There is a segment of the vinyl community and just record people in general that kind of have their nose up in the air, that think that they decide what is cool to listen to and what's not. It's not cool to listen to Taylor Swift. I don't give a fuck. Or, there's the people that will, and I got this a lot, people that will shit on Aerosmith from the late 80s, early 90s, because it's not as good as the stuff from the 70s. Who gives a fuck? If you like it, you like it.
Yep. And going back to the, I'll jump to Marshall's thing here. And my thing is, going back of like greatest band of all time is the Beatles. The reason that Rob likes the Beatles though is different than the reason I like the Beatles. And I think if you go back to 1964 Beatlemania, if you asked 95% of those people what they love and are obsessing over about that band, I would assume that their answers are going to be very similar to what people are obsessing over now with Taylor. It's not going to be about, oh my gosh, like George Harrison, he's the quiet one, but maybe arguably the best musician in the band. Like I don't think that's what they're going for. It's a cultural pop music impact, and I think that's what people resonate with.
I mean, the Beatles have the added dimension that they invented some incredible music recording technologies and some ways to make music that didn't previously exist. And some of the stuff that they created had never been heard before. Taylor hasn't done that, and I don't think she's going to do that.
Yeah.
But I do still think that in a generation or two, they'll still be talking about Taylor Swift. Like four generations later, we're still talking about the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
And not necessarily cultural impact, maybe more with Taylor, musical impact and cultural impact with the Beatles. It's not quite an apples to apples comparison, but I don't know a better comparison to make.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can, like the Taylor Swift thing that's going on, I can only imagine that that's what Beatlemania. I mean, it's like, because it was there. Absolutely. Yeah. And as my sister pointed out later, my first probably introduction to Taylor Swift was her doing Country Music Television's Crossroads with Def Leppard in 2008.
Unfortunately, it sucks because she was so young back then. Her voice was pretty weak, and Joe Elliott just stole the show, like without trying.
Yeah. I mean, she also I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. It's live stream, post party. She lacked because she was 19. It's not to say that she lacked it. It's like she didn't have the swagger that she has now. Exactly. And so it's like some of the dance moves are just a little bit like, but it's like, again, like that was what it was.
So let's talk about that for a second. Can you imagine this 19-year-old girl who 3 years before had written Love Story while she's sitting in math class? Fast forward 3 years, she's standing on stage and Joe Elliott is singing it and Def Leppard's behind her, singing the song she wrote in math class. Can you freaking imagine that?
Yeah. And it's still weird that he was saying, I'll be the prince. And then she said, and I'll be the princess. But it's Joe Elliott. Joe Elliott does what he wants. I'm into it.
But I mean, that's crazy. But and now if you were to do it now, I think she would outshine them.
Well, I mean, it depends, the definition of sort of outshine. She's too big for them right now, right? Like that's
way too big for them.
Way too big for them.
I'd love to see her do a rock album. That would be great. Why not?
That's what people are calling for. I was just talking to Carly, my sister, about this the other day. That they're calling for the rock album. But you know what? I said the same thing to her. The way the fans are right now, Taylor could drop everything and say, I'm doing a fucking jazz album. And people would be like, this is the best jazz album in the world.
Yep.
It don't matter what she could do.
I'd
about
buy
that
it.
and the Peanuts.
I'll buy it.
You'll buy it. We'll move on here. I think Halloween was good, and I think they're still good. I love Halloween. I think they're outstanding. I would put Halloween up there with my, other favorite 80s metal bands, whether you're talking Maiden or Saxon or.
I like Halloween better than Christmas because I can dress up.
I love Halloween too.
Right? It's my favorite holiday.
That's right. And we got some stuff talking about Elvis. I know someone compared Elvis to Taylor. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not well enough aware of, because one thing to consider too that we don't recognize it. Actually, this is one of my favorite parts about Rob talking with you and Glenn and Jason and just overall being in the community is like sort of discovering and going through the history of like so many of these artists that just never, how much geography impacts their fame or where they're big at, where they're not big at. Yeah. Because we talk about them all the time. We joke about Def Leppard. Def Leppard didn't hit in their home country until Hysteria.
Right.
They tell the story that they played at the beginning of the Pyromania tour in a club in England in front of about 500 people, and they closed it in the U.S. in 1983 or 1984 in front of 60,000 people.
Wow.
And people in England still didn't know who they were. And so, like, I think using Elvis, I don't know that Elvis was an international phenomenon.
Not till later, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a phenomenon here, but I don't think around the world, no.
I'm jumping into Marsha stuff here. Gonna get on a little famous rant here. Good, Marsha, please. Society has always deemed things like that women like as frivolous. True. She appeals to women to a much higher degree than men, therefore her music seems frivolous.
And Marsha's absolutely right.
Yeah, no, Marsha, you're 1000% correct, right? Like, the irony is we have two men up here even talking about this. Yeah, I mean, I think, right, like not to call it hatred, but I think like the critique of her comes from people overwhelmingly that look like Rob and I. Yeah. And so, and it's like we question, I saw a meme the other day of like, I just don't get her. And you're like, yeah, like, great. You don't have to share that, right?
Right.
Sean Nelson's in the house. Welcome, Sean. Thank you for joining.
Thanks.
I apologize. I probably am terrible and didn't. Oh gosh, I got to catch up on some of these comments. Sean, I apologize. I'm not sure I know which one. Do we know for sure that Taylor hasn't done that, or has no one simply written about it? I don't know. Sorry, I might need more information there. Mele, good to see you though. Well,
and here's Dan hits on something. So there's a reason he's talking about in '64. There was some, pushback against, the Beatles are not a thing. I'll give you two examples. When the Beatles auditioned for Decca Records before they were signed to Parlophone in England, Decca passed and said, nah, we're not interested. Guitar groups are on their way out. When they were big in England, Capitol Records in America was run by a guy named Dave Dexter Jr., who was a jazz purist, refused to release any of the early Beatles stuff because he thought it was a fad. We released it in Canada. We had 3 Beatles albums before you did, but that was just somebody going, the Beatles are fat, I'm not interested. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of that pushback back then too, which is quite similar to the people dismissing Taylor as just crappy pop shit.
Carly's got a lot of theories about the Rock album. She says, all you need to do is watch her Victoria's Secret fashion show performance with Fall Out Boy and understand the need for the Rock album.
Well, not even that. I'll give you another one. She did a performance at I think it was the Grammy Hall of Fame. It was just her, and she played I think it was a Fender Jaguar. Just her and a Fender Jaguar. I think she did 3 or 4 songs. Awesome. And then on the 1989 tour, she did another song. I think she did, it might have been Better Than Revenge. And it was just her and a Fender Jaguar electric guitar. It was friggin' awesome. It's like she needs to do a Rock album.
That's awesome.
And she's got a great band behind her, for God's sakes.
Of course. I mean, they're all, immensely talented professional musicians for sure.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, what's up, Jeff?
Jeff and I are going record shopping on Saturday, so that'll be fun.
Oh, is Jeff up there?
Yeah, he's about 20 minutes west of me.
Oh, heck yeah. That's good. I feel like Jeff and I would have a lot of musical crossover.
Probably.
Yeah. Dan says, yeah, Halloween is my favorite power metal band of all time. Yeah, they're awesome. And what is that? Their most recent self-titled that came out a couple years ago is outstanding. And yeah, I totally agree. High and Dry is great.
Sean explains what he means here coming up in the next. We were talking about how the Beatles invented new techniques, and he's saying that there's been lots of books written about, but how do we know that Taylor hasn't done that? Good point.
Yeah, no, he's totally right. We'll get rid of. Do you think Communication Breakdown is proto speed metal? Look, I mean, the thing is with proto anything, Jack, is if you can make an argument that it is, then it is, right? Like, I mean, they say the first thrash metal song of all time was Stone Cold Crazy by Queen. Because I mean, that was the fastest anybody's ever gone before. Kind of funny enough, though, you'll appreciate this, that me and Sean, who's talking about Taylor Swift and the Beatles right now, in a band together, done a ton of stuff together, but in our old band, we used to play Communication Breakdown in our set. So what do you keep doing that for? Okay, yeah.
Because
so
my son left the Star Destroyer on my desk. So
you're just having fun with it.
Just being a smart ass.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think, the main thing in talking about like recording techniques, right, is the reality is that making an album in 2024 is very different than making an album in 1964 or and everywhere.
A lot easier putting it on a hard drive, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that's not to discount anything that she or any other artists have done, right. But the reality is that she and other artists too, and not a Taylor Swift thing, but the general thing for artists to do now, they're recording whole ass albums on a tour bus and on their laptop.
Well, look at what she did with Folklore. It was recorded in the pandemic. Everyone was separate, and then all the parts were assembled in post-production.
Yeah. John, I imagine that Jack Antonoff gets a lot of credit for her production recording techniques. Her Emma was kind of hiring the best of the best producers.
True.
I was talking to my this might have come up. I sent my sister a message the other day. I said, Carly, am I a Bleachers fan? Like, I don't. Have you ever listened to Bleachers?
No.
So it's Jack Antonoff's like rock band, but like it's his band, and they're sort of in the realm of like he sort of pays tributes to like the 80s John Hughes movies. Like it's very like a little bit of like Heartland type like rock type stuff, but very, very poppy. And I was joking with her, like I heard like it was like 3 weeks in a row. I heard her song on the radio and I Shazammed it because I was like, I kind of like this. And 3 songs in a row, it was Bleachers. And I'm like, I might be a Bleachers fan.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Jason did appear for a second and then he had to leave. And then he messaged me saying he had family things pop up. So I was like, what? He was there for a second.
He was walking across his porch and a Sasquatch grabbed him.
He does live in the land of the Sam
He's
Square.
Way up north, like not even the sticks. Like he's close to Santa Claus.
Hey Glenn, the link's in your inbox. I replied all to your original link that you sent out tonight. Yeah, you should have it, Glenn, but if not, let me know and I can
but you're only welcome if you want to talk about Taylor Swift.
Right.
Or ABBA or Aerosmith.
Jack says, what's your favorite album besides Def Leppard? Well, Def Leppard, I mean, they did have a self-titled record. I think it came out in 2015. That was like a much later release. And so I don't know what you're asking for exactly, Jack. But I mean,
is he asking for your favorite record that's not a Def Leppard record or your favorite Def Leppard record that's not the self-titled?
Right. It could be anything. I mean, that might be what he is implying. I mean, I have a lot of favorite albums that aren't Def Leppard albums.
There he is.
Welcome to the Basement After Party. You have to X your hands, Glenn. Welcome. Are you 21 or over, or 19 or over for you Canadians?
This is an after party, so you got to be of age.
Well, it's past my bedtime, so I'm not sure if that means I'm either too old or too young.
We're talking about ABBA and Aerosmith.
Oh, great!
I'll see you later, Glenn.
Let's throw Klaatu and Ween in there, and we're good.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Glenn, I was guessing that you joined in on the interview that Rachel was doing with the Klaatu guy, right? And
Oh, yeah,
Michael
I can already
Nolan.
wait to watch that.
That's right. It sounds like Jack was saying that's not Def Leppard. I mean, I'll be honest. And going back to, I mentioned this on the stream earlier with Glenn, is like, I have the hardest time. I hate ranking. I cannot rank anything. I do not know how I would be able to compare the Doors debut to the Jimi Hendrix Experience debut. It's like I struggle with that so much, but yeah, I don't know. I wish I could answer that. This is a good question. Cardboard Head Guy. We didn't see him earlier, but I'm glad he's joining us now. Favorite live album from recent years. That's a tough one, but I would say it's interesting because so many live albums are coming out all the time now, because it's like all these artists have so many of these lost tapes and things that they've had for so many years that it's like, I mean, there are so many different live records that could come out all the time. And also for me, it's tough because a lot of those, especially the ones that come out on like Record Store Day, I found myself being really disappointed with a lot of live albums that have come out on Record Store Day because of the sound quality. And I'll make this reference because I know there was a little bit of maybe disagreement between Glenn and Rob about Rumors Live. Or what was it? Rumors Live,
Rumors
right? Like
Live,
that was one of those like, this is so great. What a capture, what a relic. And it's like, yeah, but it also just doesn't sound very good. So I don't know. I kind of struggle there. I'm in the middle.
Yeah, that's what my problem. I was excited about it, and then I got it, and I went, it's kind of.
I still really enjoy it, but it wasn't
lifeless or something.
I enjoy it, but my beef with it is it isn't what it was billed. What they should have, when I hear Rumors Live, I think the Rumors album played live in its entirety, which is not what it is. It should have said Fleetwood Mac, the Rumors Tour, or something like that. So they kind of mislabeled it. But my favorite live album is this awesome one here. It's called Matt Mays from Burnside with Love. Matt Mays is a rock singer or songwriter he's actually born in Hamilton, Ontario, but he lives in Dartmouth. He used to live in Dartmouth. He now lives close to me, but I don't want to say Tom Petty-esque, but kind of, but like an East Coast Tom Petty, but he's phenomenal. And this is they did this just before the start of the pandemic, and they recorded in Quebec, and it's kind of like an MTV Unplugged. So he's a really loud rocker. I've seen him many times, and I have to wear earplugs at concerts because I have tinnitus. But even with earplugs, my ears hurt because his shows are so loud. But what they did here is it's an all acoustic retrospective of his entire career. It's 3 LPs, and it is amazing. Amazing.
When did that come out, Rob?
That came out in 2021.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I only have one Matt Mays album, which I like. I can't remember what one it is.
You should have this one. It's amazing.
Dan's got a good question here. You have a favorite record that you never listen to anymore?
I got to tell you, I could do a whole catalog. As much as, the Beatles are gods in my house, and same with Rob, I guess yourself, but I very rarely listen to my Beatle records.
Well, you have a million times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I can't remember the last time I played a Beatle album.
I listen to them in the car a lot, but I don't pull the vinyl that often. But here's the other thing to consider too, right? Is I probably have the smallest collection of the three of us, and I have about 800 records. I would have to listen to like 3 albums a day just to listen to all of them in the course of a year.
Yeah.
Right? So it's pretty hard to say. It's not that you're purposely not listening to something, just there's time required to listen to an album. There's only so much time in a day, and I don't know that there's one there.
With a guy with nothing but time on his hands, I start listening to music about 2. Just seriously sitting listening to music about 2 p.m. till 6. Like 3 to 4 hours a day, every day, staring at the stereo system.
Well, you're retired though, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's the benefit. Yeah.
I get up first thing in the morning, take my son to school, go to work, get home, dinner, whatever.
Oh, I
Once
know.
everyone
You
goes
gotta-
to
yeah,
bed,
you gotta hang out
I
with
might
the
get one
family and
album
stuff.
in.
Yeah. Glenn changed his hat. Yeah. Marsha, I have about 20 hats laying around here. I could just grab one and they're hanging from everything.
Marsha, you and I, God, I've seen after watching these vinyl tags, I've seen so many people talk about this record. And I was before too.
That's a great live album. That's just recent.
Yeah. I thought Sam was going to join us. Apparently he is not, but thanks for being out there and being a relic.
Yeah.
Sam.
I think something happened to his hair.
Well, he doesn't pay his stylist to work overtime, you see.
Sorry, John, I should have checked in with you.
Join us.
Yeah, John, let me know if you want to join us. Here's the thing. I should have thought about this. John, this is your time. And I know it's like a very sensitive thing in the VC to not be streaming over people's stream times. And I'm sorry, man.
I could email him the link.
Don't cross the streams.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show this just for John since he spoke about hosers. Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Oh, man. Rob, what are you at, man?
What am I at? I don't know. Let's look.
I was going to say, I guess theoretically.
Hey, John, if you're interested in coming on, I just emailed you the link under your Music Talk with John email.
I'm still at 996.
That's crazy. Here's Richie listening tonight. Richie, would you go over to Northern Revolution's channel and subscribe to Rob?
He already does.
Is he? Okay.
He does, and he comments frequently. Thank you,
Richie. Could you get your wife out of bed and get her to?
There you go. Everybody, wake up your spouse and have them subscribe to me.
I will say,
he's in California, so she's probably still awake.
There might be a handful of people out there that are subscribed to me that are here that are not subscribed to Rob. Rob is about, I don't know, 5 or 4 away or something.
4 away from 1,000.
4 away from 1,000. And I say this because, maybe sometime in my life I might get to around that number, and I would fully expect Rob and Glenn to call all the people they know. And it's like Vinyl Richie says this. He's like, I'll get my people on it, right? He's like very mob here. He's like, I'll call my people.
Rich, you're the best. Rich comments on my videos all the time, and I watch his all the time.
He's a treasure, man, that guy. I love Rich.
Let's see. Zach says Rob wins the VC Thumbnail Award.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't think they're that good. I think Concert Buddy does a better job, but thank you. I will take that compliment.
I
work hard on them, but
I think I do very inventive thumb wheels.
I got
edit.
I got this thumbnail that's got I smashed my thumb a few months ago.
Oh.
I got an interesting. I don't want to say interesting. This is not something that's like I was like upset about or anything. I just thought it was like fascinating. It was like somebody commented on my thread vinyl tag video, commenting on they said like the nice things that you say on other people's stuff. Oh, great collection, great response.
Update,
Rob and I
997.
Oh, let's go. It's climbing.
We're gonna get to 1,000 tonight. That's exciting.
Sorry, 10
Yeah, and you know what? He's Racer Records was number 200 for me. I remember him saying that like live time. He's like, I just subbed. I believe you're 200.
I'm going to go on my iPad and I'm going to unsubscribe when you get to 999.
But that's
you would do.
Terrible. But that's the joke, Rob, is like once you hit 1,000, if you go to bed, you could be at 998 tomorrow.
I know.
I'm not gonna celebrate till I get to like 1,000.
You need to get to like 1,010. You need that buffer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. But so I got this comment, it was like the typical stuff. I had a great collection. I love how you show this, and this. And then it was like a whole paragraph on essentially like talking about how like my lighting and like the way my camera is positioned like sucks. And I was like, it wasn't disrespectful. Like I want to be clear, like this person wasn't being a jerk. Like he was like, I work in photography. I know these things. Here's like a whole paragraph. And I'm like, yeah, I appreciate this. I was like, we have a pretty low budget operation going on. And like when I say low budget, I don't mean like low.
You say we like there's people working for you.
Right. It was like, low budget monetarily, but also I'm just a low budget human being. Like I put my phone up on a thing and I talk. I mean, I got this little tiny ring light above me here, and that's about it. So this is the funniest thing, Carly. Did you see the comment, Carly? Go back there and read it. I mean, it's the same thing you've been telling me, Carly. You're like, oh, you need to raise your phone up higher so it's showing down on you and all this shit. And I'm like, yeah, my stupid tripod is on 4 textbooks from grad school 8 years ago, and I don't have a 5th. Like, I'm sorry, maybe when I get to Glenn and Rob's numbers, I'll be able to invest in another tripod for you people.
Speaking of Rob's numbers, Carly, have you subscribed to Northern Revolutions yet? There's Taylor Swift videos.
Come on, Carly.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Yeah, you don't read.
I texted. Richie said he texted a few people to sub him.
He's got Richie's got his people on it.
Richie's the man.
Tonight. This is awesome.
And I would say, Carly, for you, Rob and I are going to do a Taylor Swift collab video, which I know you and I are also going to do.
$9.98.
But we're going to do it on his channel because he's got more subscribers.
So I have some news, Glenn, that you'll appreciate, and it's not record related, but it's record room related. So do you remember a while ago I scored a seat from the Rogers Center?
Yeah.
So it was one of the outfield seats. They're riser mounted. So I found a company that makes feet for it. I ordered them today. They're shipping. I'll have them in a few days. So pretty soon there's going to be a Rogers Center seat right behind me in my office.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we at? What's the check? We got
John Nelson subscribed.
We got sub. What do we got?
1,000.
Oh, no way.
Thank you, everybody.
The human fund.
That's awesome, man.
Wow.
Congratulations.
That means a lot.
Let's get like 5 more.
I don't care about the monetization thing, and I don't have enough watch hours yet, but there's just something about that number.
Oh, it's a great milestone. It's
just a milestone. And the fact that I did it before my 2-year anniversary.
I mean, we all feel the same way. We're a bunch of losers sitting in our house. We're talking about music. Whoever thought that 1,000 people would give a crap?
Thanks, everybody. This is awesome.
That's why when people say, well, only 100 people watch my videos, or only 50 or 200 or whatever your number is, imagine putting a notice up on the bulletin board close to your house saying, I'm going to be talking about Blue Rodeo Records tonight. Come on over and watch me. And 50 people show up. You'd be going, holy crap, that's amazing.
There it is.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome, Rob. Thank you. Who would have thought it would have been Beer and Vinyl stream to take you over the edge?
Yeah.
Love it, man.
A historic evening.
Here's the thing, Marcia. Let me have
a selfie of myself tonight.
Let me have like a 7 hoopty moment with you, Marcia. We all can't have perfect lighting like you do in your videos. Marcia's lighting is outstandingly good. Like almost like, am I watching a cartoon good? Not to say you look like a cartoon, but I'm like, this lighting is so good.
That's the thing. That's the thing I do. Like I look at my videos and I'm always trying to make them better. And I think I'm pretty good at the editing thing and the post-production thing. I still can't shoot a video worth of shit. I still can't light anything worth of shit. And I try to enlist the help of Matt from Prime Analog Records, because Matt is a professional photographer and I love Matt. And we had some Zoom calls, he and I, and he taught me a lot of stuff and it sounded good in here. And then when I tried to execute it, it looked like shit. The camera and the lighting thing is like rocket science. Rocket science. I don't get it.
A lot of things. What does your video shoot at? Like, is it 1080p or 720?
I shoot on my iPhone.
No, but I don't know what quality is.
I think it's 1080. Like I have a proper digital SLR. I've got a Canon EOS something or other that I could use. I don't understand it. It is. You might as well put me in front of a particle.
Who's really good at that stuff is Larry. You should get Larry to help you.
Well, and like I said, I got Matt because that's what he does for a living. He's a professional photographer, and he was really helpful. I just still can't execute what I was taught. So for people like Marcia that get the lighting right, hats off. Like,
I love that.
Not to go all baseball, but I do remember one of the last times.
Sam St. John's head's too big for a hat.
Richie, if you send me a Dodgers hat, I'll wear it. Only for one video.
I do remember, I forget, you two had a bet about Ohtani.
Right.
And if he was going to go to LA or obviously Toronto. I forget what the bet was.
Well,
If he came to Toronto, Richie would have to have a
win
Jays
anything,
hat.
but Richie had to wear a Blue Jays hat if the Jays.
Oh, he would have gone. Yeah.
Rob and I were smart enough not to commit to it.
Right.
You know, this is important to note here. My lighting does suck, but that reflects the style of the channel. You know, it's like
it's an aesthetic.
It's an aesthetic, and I don't mean that like in a self-deprecating way. I mean that of like every single channel out there has a different vibe and aesthetic, right? Like Rob is an expert. What I would say an expert. I know you would be like, no, but you are an incredible editor, right? Like you have an intro, you have a lot of editing, you have the click-throughs, you have all of that stuff. And I love that and respect it greatly. For me, where I'm at, I don't.
Dirty little secret is I paid to have the intro made.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's like because that was important, right? Like
it was like $20, but
And so my thing of like well, why do I want to start this? Like I was like I want to jump on it. I just want to meet people and talk about music, right? And so like I just go in with that, and so it's like funny of like, gosh, yeah, some people have. Here's what's so funny. I think my sister knows this. And Sean, if you're still out there watching, you'll love this because you know me better than anybody. But my dumbass, I got an iPhone and I have a screen protector. I put the screen protector on upside fucking down on the phone so that the cover covers the camera.
Oh.
So my videos are already shitty quality because they're being hazed out by a fucking screen protector. So
that's funny. Alex, do you have like overhead like pot lighting or anything, or are you just using lamps?
I got a one overhead sort of like table thing, and then I got like you can tell this ring light here.
That's why. I think that's why I mean my lighting isn't anything special, but I got pot lighting in my ceiling, and it just kind
of. Actually, Carly, I'll be honest. I was not aware that this was announced. I know you're a big Weezer fan. I love the Blue album. I cannot make a comment. I think it's great. Hasn't been 30 years. That record come out in 94? The Weezer? Yeah.
Something like that.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
You could do a whole series on videos, like when the year starts. Because I did the albums that turned 50. I could do next one. I could do albums that turn 40, albums that turn 30, albums that turn 20.
Yeah. You could do like the McCartney thing and do albums that turn 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. Right. It's like watching the ball drop. We love the lo-fi.
Yeah, I'm the same with you, Alex. I just want to come on and push the start button and go, hey, everybody.
There you go. Robin, you darken your background. Try bouncing the light off the wall in front of you.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with lighting. I haven't shot a video because I haven't found a lighting setup that I like yet. Problem is, this is my office, right? So it's very bright for a reason because I work here, which is not conducive to shooting videos. So that's the next thing on the agenda is I'm experimenting with lighting. So you may see some changes in the lighting in the next month or so.
Yeah, I do love this. Sean referencing my screen protector covering my camera, and then his brilliant. Just say that it's an analog grain filter. Yeah, it's perfect. I will say, Sean, I don't know, now that you're here, I might be making this up and it might be in my mind, but after I started editing my videos through iMovie on my phone, just like when I say editing, it's like I'll put in like the captions or like the fade in from black, fade out to black type stuff. When I'm saving out of iMovie, does that automatically save it to like a higher quality than does that even make sense? I don't know. I'm probably making some nonsense up. I agree. I saw Weezer with Green Day and Fall Out Boy in Columbus a couple of years ago, and I love Weezer. Of those bands, I mean, they're all really good and really entertaining, but I really like Weezer. They were great. Well, this was part of the vinyl tag, so we could probably answer it. I'll let Glenn and Rob go if they'd like to talk about whatever their favorite video that they did was this past year.
After you, Glenn. Age Before Beauty.
Well, I already said. I think my most fun one was doing the Sam St. John and the Hair Salon song. But yeah, I think that's. I don't know. I like doing room tours, and I look back. I've done one every year for 3 years. So I'm going to do a room tour pretty soon. It'll be my 4th one, and the annual room tour. So I like doing those.
Mine was the 3 videos I did with Bob from Wilco.
They were awesome.
Those were fun. Just because it was something different, right? It wasn't me holding up a record. It was someone who is a musician.
Great conversation.
Talking about what influenced him as a musician. You know, the funny thing is I have probably 30 records he plays on, not because he plays on them. It's just because I like those records. Like he plays on a bunch of Sadie's records, and I was a Sadie's fan long before I was friends with Bob. And I would love for him to tell those stories, but he won't. He's like, you know what? I was a guest on those records. They're not my stories to tell. He goes, he's told me a lot of stories that will never be repeated in public. He has an incredible story about the night he met Johnny Cash, and Johnny Cash convinced him to join Wilco. It's an incredible story, not to be shared publicly. You know, so I wish he would, but he won't. So that's fine. But anyway, I enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed the video that I did where I talked about records that were my dad's.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm thinking about doing, and, you know, I got, you know, obviously some family here watching, and like, you know, thinking around like maybe like Father's Day time, doing some kind of like, I don't want to say tribute, because tribute makes it feel a little bit weird. And I think, you know, people might know I had a complicated, like my dad and I didn't have a musical relationship. It's not like that, but I mean, certainly there are a ton of bands and artists that stick with me today because of what was being listened to in the house, or what we listened to in the car, or concerts that we went to together, or any of those things.
I love that you guys are of an age when you could relate to your parents musically. That's great. I didn't get that opportunity.
My dad and I had such a bond over music. And I mean, he's been gone to be 15 years this year. And it was an incredibly, I'll tell you the story offline someday, Glenn. You'll cry when I tell you. It's one of the most heartbreaking stories you'll ever hear. And so 15 years later, I still, and I went to counseling and all that shit, and I'm glad that I did, but I still struggle with it 15 years later. But the fact that, and I think that's why I'm still such a big record guy, is because that was the one connection I mean, we had many connections, but that was the big thing. So I still feel like he's here when I'm listening to music, and I'm looking at him right now. There's 2 pictures of him on the wall, and it's there for a reason, because I spend more time sitting at this desk, either doing YouTube or working or listening to music or whatever. And he's right there. And it's a good thing.
John's got a week till Elvis Costello. I'm not a huge Elvis Costello fan. I have a couple of records, but I think that would be an incredible show.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great
one
show.
that could have been in our topic tonight. Elvis Costello.
I love Elvis.
I mean, yeah, intimidating discography, catalog for sure. See ya, Jack. Feel free to answer that one there.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
No, but he's told me some of those kind of stories too.
Let's see. I've come around to some of my dad's stuff more recently as I have aged. Older Mans, Frank and Dean, those types of guys will enjoy it. Hope Mike. Yeah, you know, it's funny.
Records is like my age, probably. Like that's why I hate that music, because my parents listened to it. I grew up in the age of the generation gap, and I hate crooner music.
Well,
sure, Sean, love you, brother.
It's funny when you listen to the podcast that Sam and I did. I'm older than Sam, so my dad is older than Sam. So Sam's dad, I think now is like 60 something. If my dad was alive, he would be 76. So my dad is 16 years older than Sam's dad, and my dad was listening to like Clapton and John Mayall and Fleetwood Mac and Santana and all that kind of awesome stuff. Yeah. And Sam's dad, who's 16 years younger, is like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. And so it was an interesting chat, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you know, what's funny too, is like, I often like joke when I meet people my age, like the best relationship I have with people my age is with their parents. Because, you know, it's like a music thing, right? Like we'll just be out hanging out at like a bar or something like that, or we'll start talking about music. And it's interesting too, because I'm curious of like, were there artists that maybe we grew up being really turned off to because we're just surrounded by it all the time? But then
Rush.
later in life, we grew to really appreciate it and respect it a lot more.
No.
You know, Glenn, no, Glenn, I know you love this story. I tell all the time of like, implanted in my memory is my mom, like, you know, drunkenly swaying to Sugar Magnolia.
Yeah.
Like, I could not get Sugar Magnolia. Like, I cannot get it out of my head. And it took me damn near 30 years to get it out of my head before I even considered liking the Grateful
Oh, I
Dead.
can't imagine my parents listen to that. That would have been funny.
Yeah. In the late 80s, but some of the music from the 60s that time. Yeah, I mean, it's. Oh, gosh. You know, Carly makes a good one too. So, Carly, that's my sister. And yeah, it took a long time to get back into Van Morrison because, like, Moondance was something that was playing in our house seemingly every other night. And so it's a marvelous night for a moon. Like, I remember hearing that and just being like, oh, it's one of those nights. And
That was the last dance at our wedding.
Wait.
Moondance.
Oh, yeah?
That's a great record.
Yeah, they're one of those. Yeah. I think I remember you saying that, Marcia, maybe on
So, Marcia, you didn't watch my Eagles album ranking video? What a shame.
What do you think? I'm thinking about doing my next sort of one of my goals or whatever this year is to do more do any album rankings. Granted, they're all going to be with some caveats because it's, you know, some of the Scott, like I can't rank the Zappa catalog. I could probably do a top. God, I could probably do a top
whole catalog. You just do your top 10 or 15.
Right? Yeah, I could probably. Yeah, so I'm thinking about like, or like, you know, for certain bands, like I don't know, it's like maybe I'll rank the Rush catalog from 74 to 84. You know, something like that, right? I'm
a ranking guy. I love that. I just like doing it. It's fun. I know it means nothing.
Yeah.
Does anybody care if I think it's number 2 or number 7? You know, but I really enjoy doing it. I like watching them too.
Well, I think that's kind of the point from like not to say it's about like clicks or views or anything like that, but I think what is important is that it's a different way to get your channel out there and a different connection point because it's going to connect with fans who are very like, you know, it's like if I post a Def Leppard ranking, there will probably be Def Leppard fans who end up watching that episode who have no idea what this whole thing is, right?
Are you taking advantage of doing a lot of tags on your videos?
I've started and I've learned that from you.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah. And not only that, like when you're uploading your video, if you go down at one point in the YouTube studio there's a whole box where you can put tags. Yeah, like you have no idea how many tags I put. Everything. I put ranking. I put thrift, just in case people are looking at thrift stores. I put live chat. I put everything you could possibly think of that's anything to do with YouTube music. It's in there.
Yep.
Even if it has nothing to do with the video.
This is a great series that Steve does. Yeah. Absolutely great series.
That's good.
All right, here's one. Y'all got one here?
Oasis.
Is it too late for Supertramp? I still wish those guys would get back together.
They're both alive?
I know.
I think they're both alive. God, I would love that.
That's the one split. I never ever heard a story of what happened.
Right? Like I'm tired of hearing about Roger Waters and David Gilmour. We never hear about Roger Hodgson and Rick Davies?
Davies, never.
I think Hall and Oates need to give each other a hug.
Oh, yeah, that's going to happen. That'll be a cold day in hell, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish Henry would stop being an asshole and let Felder back into the Eagles.
Man, he got.
Anybody who's still around, even Bernie Leadon should be in there.
Well, he still tours with them from time to time. He did a couple of years ago. He did a string of shows. He's on good terms. He just chooses not to. But Felder got screwed.
Thanks for joining, Richie.
Thanks, Rich.
We really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Rich.
Back to the where'd it go? I was talking to Rob earlier. Glenn, you got to do this every week. This is tough. Managing this whole shit.
It is tough.
This is no joke. Well, there's already talks about it. It's not really reuniting. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, if Rush did something in 2024, I'd be all in. So when it comes to 2024 stuff, I'd be all in.
I strongly encourage it. Please do something.
Yeah.
You guys are too talented not to be playing.
Glenn, you like the Rankin family?
I don't really care one way or the other. I mean, they're pretty talented people, but
I'm
don't.
related to the Rankin family.
It's too kind of wholesome or something. I don't know. I just don't.
My uncle is their cousin, I think. Something like that.
Yeah.
Ironically, his last name is Rankin.
I'm going to say that sounded very Alabama.
They're from the East Coast of Canada.
Yeah. My uncle's dead. But...
Talented family. There's like 6 of them, and they all sing and dance and play fiddles and freaking guitars. Yeah.
Yeah. What else? What other you guys got? I don't know, Glenn. I feel like Glenn, do you post a video every day? Is that your average?
I absolutely make sure I post a video every other day.
Mm-hmm.
I have been posting more often recently. I don't know why. Just if I come up with enough ideas, I'll post every day.
Do you feel this is like an interview with Glenn? Like, do you feel that if you go a day where you don't post, do you feel like you like not to say that you let us down, but like there are some people who are like, I just feel I need to jump on every day and make a video because like I feel like I owe it to myself and the community. Like you've built this now sort of thing of like, yeah, I do yeah.
I wish I could do one every day, but some days you just wake up and you just don't feel it, and you don't have the topic, even if you have a topic, you don't really feel like it. I don't know. It's just
I sort of, I mean, I don't do it every day. I usually video every Sunday.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I'm a day late or whatever, or I don't have something, I kind of feel, not that I'm disappointing anybody, but I know I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's people I watch regularly, even outside of the Vinyl community. There's other YouTube topics that I like to watch. And those regular channels, if they don't upload on the day that they normally upload, I'm like, what happened to them? Where is it? Why didn't they do a video this week?
Yeah.
I need my fix.
I remember this came up at Race. I know, you're one of the people I ran into, and I know you're up there in Canada too. But we came across each other's channels via the tag. I think I remember us talking about this on a stream several weeks ago about, if Rush did something this year and they would obviously bring in some kind of drummer, like, would we want them to bring in some like world-renowned, highly respected, crazy virtuoso drummer who could do everything, or is it like that's an unfair position to put anybody in? What if we did so?
I think they need Mike Portnoy.
Well, he's back in Dream Theater, so he's not going to be doing that. But
I'm totally being a smartass because I don't know anything about Dream Theater. So I just know he's your guy. So
he is my guy.
Yeah, they're never going to replace Neil, so it's just finding somebody who works that they like playing with. I'm not sure.
But then is it Rush or is it a tribute band?
No, I don't know if they'd call it Rush, and I don't even know if
I don't think they should.
I think they would want to make new music.
That would be like the Hip getting back together without Gord.
Yeah. Although Gord was, I mean, Neil wrote a lot of lyrics for Rush.
Right.
It's a big hole to fill.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, Simon Phillips would be.
Simon Phillips. I'd go with Mr. Harrison.
Gavin. Yeah, Gavin would be great. Hey there, Dave. Let's see, what does it say?
Is there too many? Is what I was going to type. Videos like bit nuts and feel put it up there and see what happens.
Well, I might not be, thinking this, but I don't know. I remember us talking about this a couple weeks ago, and I found myself stressing myself out, which is probably the opposite of the feeling that should be what this is. Like overthinking, over strategizing what I think is going to be successful, quote unquote, however we define that. And so, I mean, I think there are some videos that take a little bit more planning and organization, and other ones where it's like, here's some shit I found at the thrift store. It's like,
those ones are easy. Those you can do. I come on with the stuff and I go, here, let's sit down, and right away I do them. But like doing that one I did today with the top 24 of 74. That took a lot of freaking time to think of what albums to choose, and then even to pull them. Like it's
Yeah. Well, this is a good point, right? Adam Lambert's been doing the Queen thing forever.
Doing a damn good job of it too.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I don't think anybody would, he's an incredible singer.
But there are some snobs who go, if it's not Freddie, it's not Queen.
Now, here's what was interesting is one of my favorite concerts I went to was when they were Queen with Paul Rogers. I saw that back in 04, 05. And that was interesting because it was like, yeah, Paul Rogers is not Freddie Mercury. It's not about who's better. They're different singers. But I think, and they later admitted, they're like, yeah, it just didn't really work out because he's not Freddie Mercury. But I think a lot of people also recognized and respected of like, yeah, they're not trying to replace Freddie with the sound of
That's why I like that they built themselves as Adam Lambert or Queen and Adam Lambert. Because he's not Queen, even though he's fronting the band.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fine distinction.
But it's sad when like a main guy leaves. But you're musicians, they want to play, and then they have the right. I mean, if you're there from the start, you have the right to call yourself Queen or anything. Brian May is just
but then you get into a situation like.
Then you get into, I agree. I like it too that they do Adam Lambert and Queen. I think it makes sense.
But just because you were there since the beginning, you could get into a situation like the Guess Who. Gary Peterson is not the Guess Who, even though he's been here since the beginning.
But he wasn't an integral member.
But he was there since the beginning.
He was there,
yeah.
So there's no right answer.
Well, and I mean, let's be honest too. Like John Deacon hasn't played with the band in
ever,
but they're not recognizing. They're still calling it Queen. It's like kind of
because he's signed off on it. He's fine with it because he owns part of the legal entity, and he's
I mean, he's still getting a check somewhere.
He's getting a check.
You look at a band like King Crimson. I mean, Robert Fripp has had how many configurations and people have come in and gone out of King Crimson since 1969. It's like
oh god,
and it's still King Crimson when they go out on tour. Whether it's Jacko Jackson singing now, or John Wetton, or Adrian Belew, or
I remember seeing, Glenn back in 2000 and 10, 11, 12, I don't know, somewhere on those times. I was seeing Dream Theater, and opener was called The Crimson Project.
Okay,
which was
saw that, but I've heard
Adrian Belew, doing wacky improvisation like King Crimson stuff, and that was well before I was into King Crimson or anything like it. And I was like, oh my god, like this is the wackiest, most out there stuff. And of course he's over there making his elephant noises and doing everything that he does.
Listen, fellas, it's after 11:30. I'm gonna jet because I got work in the morning. So
all right, Rob, thanks for joining, man.
Thanks. And thanks everybody.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Rob.
2010.
Yeah.
It's not over. Go subscribe to Rob's channel if you haven't already. I know there's some new people.
When I get up to 1,010, then I'll do the 1,000 celebration video.
Yeah.
So.
Heck yeah, man.
Thanks everybody. You guys have a good night.
Good night, Rob. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Dan, here's the thing. I know, and other people do this, right? Like John does this all the time. Two things for me. A is that I don't feel comfortable going into a place of retail with a camera. That's not really my thing. I don't think the stores like it. I don't think the people in the stores like it. And even if they do, it's just not something I'm very comfortable with. What I would like to do long-term for my channel is I would love to have a conversation with some of the record store owners in town and do like an interview with them and just talk about music and talk about records and that sort of stuff. So
I'm like that too. I would feel really weird walking into a store. John's got a great relationship with the guy at Kingfish, so it works. I mean, I have a good friend who owns a record store. I'm sure he'd let me do it. But another thing is you almost need two people. Like it's really hard to hold. I'm recording this on an iPad and I'm trying to hold it and look at a record. Like it's a pain in the ass.
This is a good point. I've always Adam Lambert with Queen versus John Mayer, Dead and Company. But I think Dead and Company is a really good example of how to kind of do it the right way.
Very
and
respectful.
I don't even think that they advertise it as John Mayer and Dead and Company. I think it's just Dead and
Yeah.
Company and John
Yeah.
Mayer's in it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a good point. I don't know if Adam Lambert's ever sing Ogre Battle, but I would love to see that. I mean, he's a great, a great singer. And I think like when he won or came in second, whatever, I forget if he won or came in second American Idol. I think everybody was like, "Oh my god, he sounds like Freddie." Okay, he makes a great point. We've talked about this a lot, Glenn, on the streams of like the ongoing, ever-changing lineups and what you can call yourself and what does it mean to be an original member? Because I use this as an example. Like, imagine after John Rutsey was no longer in Rush, being like, they're not Rush anymore.
Yeah.
Not the original drummer. Not for me.
And he was a founding member.
Founding member. 33.
They kicked Geddy Lee out.
A third of the band is gone. That's not my Rush, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Night guys. Hey, Night Marsha. Thanks. Appreciate you. Hey, what's up, FBA? Did you FBI, I think did I see you earlier? Did you post your tag yet? Yeah, I know you were talking about it. I'm looking forward to that. Bye, Rob. Bye, Rob.
Racer
Red, yeah, Alex. Yeah.
Hey, am I a subscriber to Racer Records?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions on if new or not, but when this tag was going on, I searched the tag and I watched as many videos as I can and just came across so many of them.
I know, it's crazy. It's overwhelming, actually.
But I think he's another Canadian, which, as you know, it's like 5% of the population, 95% of the VC.
Racer Records. I am not a subscriber to your records. 64 subscribers. Make it 65. I'm there.
He was great. I really enjoyed just like the vibe, the conversation, just very good.
Cool.
Sort of vibe conversationally.
I will watch some of your videos.
Dave makes one of the very point. I mean, how many iterations of Deep Purple? But and I know Mark 1's your favorite.
And I'll tell you, but Mark 1 is my favorite. But Mark 2, I gave up after Richie Blackmore left. Like I like Steve Morris as a guitar player. I loved him in the Dixie Dregs, but I just stopped listening to Deep Purple after that. I've never heard a Deep Purple album after whatever Blackmore's last album was from I think he came back at some point or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he left for Come Taste the Band and then came back and then left again.
Yeah,
I was done. Rages On or something.
You're right. I can't listen. You're right. He's probably put out 20 albums since David Byron left, but that's it. Without David Byron, I'm not listening.
The amount of channels, and we're talking big channels. I mean, one of my, not necessarily VC, just a music channel, CF Tranquility, we're talking almost 100,000 subscribers. It's sort of like the home for all things hard rock, metal, whatever. What is it? Chaos and Color, Creation and Color, whatever. Uriah Heep's album last year was his top album of the whole year. And it's, really? I mean, it's tough, right? It's just Mick Box. And
I bought one of them about 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I bought their newest album that came out, and I listened to it, and it was okay. But like, if I'm listening to Uriah Heep, I'm listening to the first 4 albums and 5 albums. That's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I actually, I don't have any of the. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name. Who replaced David Byron?
I don't know the guy's name.
Somebody in the comments I'm sure Dan's gonna help. Dan, who's the who replaced David Byron? I can't think of his name. Was it Lawton? John Lawton? Hey, later Jeff.
Yeah, Lawton does sound familiar.
Yeah, I think it was Lawton for like Abominog and all that kind of stuff, right? I agree with this. David Coverdale was great. I mean, him and Glenn Hughes just teaming up were just outstanding.
I don't know. I mean, David Cover version, they call him, right?
It's fascinating. I mean, Burn and Stormbringer and Come Taste the Band are really great. Yes, thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate
Jeff
that.
jumped on it too. John Lawton, then Bernie Shaw. Okay. I mean, they're still rocking and making good music, but it's just, I
And
just,
that's the,
I get in that mindset. If I'm, how often do I listen to Uriah Heep? I do love them,
yeah.
but when I'm listening to Uriah Heep, I'm putting on "Look at Yourself" or Salisbury or the first album, or
I mean, it's not a joke. You would probably look at the latest Uriah Heep the same way you would look at Hackney Diamonds. Of like, it's probably fine,
it would sit on my shelf and never get played.
but you're not going to play it over Sal's. You're not going to pick it over, Magician's Birthday.
Exactly.
um, David cover version. That is really, yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but you know what's so interesting though, of like, think of any band that has been able to stand the test of time with all their quote unquote original members versus how many bands as effectively or completely, broke up because somebody left, somebody died, somebody was,
Yeah.
like something like that, right? Like I reference that you could argue that like Led Zeppelin never made a bad record.
Yeah.
I don't know that they had time to.
Mhm.
I do wonder how the 80s would have treated Led Zeppelin.
Well, they were starting to get tired. I think they were running out of ideas. So,
Yeah.
would have been interesting if Bonham hadn't have died, if they would have continued, and what would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, it's interesting seeing like, well, yeah, like, people are going to replace members and
Yeah. How
that
many
kind of
bands
stuff. But
are successful with major, like, as much as I'm not a huge Genesis fan, when you think about what a big hole Peter Gabriel leaves walking out of Genesis, and then Phil Collins walks in, and whether you like Phil Collins or not, or the direction they went, it was still pretty freaking popular, and they sold a lot of records.
sold a lot of records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And Peter Gabriel went on to sell a lot of records too.
him too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ella Washington. I don't know the name.
Never heard the name. Ella Fitzgerald and somebody else, Washington. Sounds like two famous people mixed up or something.
Right? Yeah.
This
Yeah, totally.
tag is the first for me, and it's been great discovering new channels. Good night. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. Hey, Racer, I'll be looking forward to watching your videos. See, I thought Plant solo albums were hit and miss all the time. Like, there would be great songs on them, and there would be a lot of filler. Like, I never thought he made one like epic solo record.
Yeah. Was it
He
like
had
new
some
wave
great songs.
What's like the new wavy one? Is that like Shaken Not Stirred or Stirred and Shaken, or it's like the blue
Yeah,
one with
but
the,
him, yeah, and some pictures at 11, and
yeah.
yeah, I like the last one he did, Carry Fire. That's my favorite one, actually.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
Talking about Ella Washington. She's self-titled from '69. Check her out. Oh.
69. I've never heard of her. Check her out.
I mean, it's like I'm just assuming that she's like a soul jazz vocalist or something. I don't know, just by her name, but
the
it
name,
could be
it
wrong.
sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean, could be like a metal guitarist. We don't know.
Now and Zen was probably his best rockin' album. That was probably because that was probably closest to Zeppelin.
Yeah. All right, we got pictures of 11 was most Zeppelin like. But it depends, is it we say is it in through the outdoor Zeppelin like, or is it,
Yeah. R&B gospel, yeah. Ella Washington. She just sounds like that's what she is.
I mean, and it's funny too, going back to the other point about Bonham and take it to like Keith Moon, like the Who didn't break up. They came in, and was it Kenny Jones came and like played drums on those two records. I don't know that those records would have been any different if Keith Moon was on them.
No. I don't think Keith Moon was as integral. I mean, he was a huge part of, because he had a huge personality. But I think he was more easily replaceable than John Bonham. Because John Bonham's sound helped make Zeppelin more than I think Keith Moon's made.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if that's a fair statement or not.
Well, and I also, wonder
Like King
to.
Jones came in and did a fine job.
Yeah, I mean, he did the job, right? I think, and also it's like Keith Moon's playing at that point later in his career had changed so much. Like, you know, you listen to Live at Leeds versus listening to Who Are You? They're different already.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a huge Alison Krauss fan, so that was good. I love that Robert went the rootsy route for a while. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
every album I listen to, even if it's Black Sabbath, I always go, it needs more banjo. That's the first thing I think.
Man, I'll say,
how does the banjo fit into this music?
Glenn, I watched that whole Bela Fleck interview. Fascinating, just great stuff.
It was, wasn't it? What an intelligent guy to talk about music.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and just I loved like him talking about his experience touring with John McLaughlin and Shakti and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Chick Corea.
I also, like I get fascinated by like the cultural historical implications of things, and I never considered the sort of historical racial aspects of the banjo and how much like so many other things, how it was completely sort of taken over.
Yeah.
And just his wherewithal to recognize that and to articulate it so well, in a way to go, oh damn, yeah, that's right. Like when I think of banjo, I think of you think of dueling banjos and Deliverance.
Yeah.
You and it's like that's what my interpretation of it is.
Have you ever listened to Bela Fleck and the Flecktones?
Never.
Oh, you gotta check that stuff out, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
I could have put that on my list tonight.
Funk. It's a mixture of bluegrass, funk, and jazz. It's so good.
I'm in. Well, I mean, hey, I should have brought them up tonight and seen if you had a recommendation. Where would you start?
Yeah. Flight of the Cosmic Hippo was probably one of the best ones. That's great.
And I love the title of that, so I won't forget the name of that.
But they're all good.
I think Nick Mason, Pink Floyd's an underrated drummer.
I think he is too. I'll tell you that one of the best albums I bought, talk about live albums, is the Saucer Full of Secrets Nick Mason album.
I hope he does that again. He comes around and does that tour again.
Did you see that tour at all?
I did not know.
I saw it. It was in a small venue. It was amazing. So good.
I never saw that. I heard it was good though.
I saw it and I don't know. It was okay.
Okay.
It had some good moments.
I don't know. You might know this better.
I don't know. And normally those guys are playing like guitars that are have 6 strings and a banjo body on them, so they sound like a banjo, but they're not really banjos. Or they're playing a 4-string banjo and strumming it. It's usually something different than a bluegrass banjo.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, y'all. We're rolling up on midnight here, Eastern Standard Time. I know Glenn's got a long day at work tomorrow as a retiree.
Oh yeah, I got to get up early and
gotta get up and go. But
figure out what I'm going to have on my toast.
Right. This was fun. Foley was like, I'm going to jump on it, try
the after show.
Fun, so
the after show. This is cool.
The after, right? It's somebody said before it's the after basement after dark. I might have to steal that. Yeah.
Basement after dark.
Thanks awesome. Everybody. Thanks John. Thanks Cardboard Head Guy, Dan, everybody out there. Racer. Awesome. Thanks for watching, and everybody have a good night. We'll chat soon.
Take care, buddy.
See you, man.
See ya.